Let's now get into what exactly is inside that historic EU trade deal. $750 billion in U.S. energy purchases, $600 billion for additional U.S. investments, expanding purchases of American military equipment, a 15% tariff slapped on most European goods, and a 0% tariff on American exports. President Trump calls this deal a major win for both sides.
It's a great deal for both. It brings unity. We didn't need unity, but it brings us even closer together, I think. It's good for both parties. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed.
And on top of the comprehensive deal with the EU, the president wants the rest of the world to pay their fair share, hinting at a global tariff.
We're making deals that are good for us, but we want them to be good for everybody. It's important. These are tough negotiators. These are, you know, look, they're smart people, they're tough negotiators. They know what they want. And but we're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States. Because you can't sit down and make 200 deals.
What percent will that tariff be?
I would say it'll be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range.
The president is also looking to leverage China and hopes that the ongoing talks will lead to another blockbuster deal.
We just finished Indonesia. They opened up their country. We just finished Japan. They opened up their country. You know, I'd love to see China open up their country. So we're dealing with China right now as we speak. Yeah, we're dealing with China right now.
Look, Mark, I know it's never going to be perfect, but it feels like some wind at our back here.
Isn't this amazing? Did you ever think a president of the United States goes all over the world, he uses tariffs as leverage, we bring money into the country, in addition to that, they have to invest in our country? I've never seen anything like this. You know, I study history and so forth. There are other presidents that had tariffs in place. Some of them may have caused depression. Some of them may have caused other issues and so forth. These aren't just tariffs. These are negotiating tools that the president of the United States is using. I think it's kind of a new economic formula. And I think it's going to bring a lot of wealth, jobs, and activity to the country. And I'll tell you what else it does politically. The Democrats are left in the dust. What do they say? Tax and redistribute wealth, tax and redistribute wealth. Here's a man who's bringing foreign investment into the country, reindustrializing America. And so far, at least pretty much on prices, it hasn't affected prices at all in this country.
Are you surprised, though, at the efficacy of what he's doing with these tariffs? $27 billion. We just heard that today.
I think it's unbelievable. I mean, did anybody predict anything like, other than him, did anybody predict that anything like this would happen? I don't think so. There were many skeptics. Look, I was an old free market guy, and I had to be persuaded. I'm now persuaded. If it's done the right way, by the right person who knows what he's doing, it works, and it's working like nobody ever expected.
I want to move to this for everybody else on the couch. President Trump also had a lot to say about President Putin of Russia shortening the deadline for him to commit to a ceasefire with Ukraine, but nothing he's not interested in, but noting that he's not interested right now in speaking directly again with Putin because those conversations have proved to be rather duplicitous from Putin watch.
Russia could be so rich. It could be so rich. It could be thriving like practically no other country. And they're holding that back because we can't. He wants to do trade deals with us. He talks about it all the time. He wanted to. And I envision that a lot of trade with Russia. They have a lot of valuable things. When you talk about rare earth, they have serious rare earth, right? They have just about every form you can have. So, you know, Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people.
And are you considering, has been proposed?
I don't know. I'm not, you know, I'm not so interested in talking anymore. He talks, we have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting, I mean, recently, I guess, the nursing home, but they hit other things. Whatever they hit, people die.
All right, so Lisa, later today, really at any moment, we're expecting the president to move that deadline sooner for Russia. I mean, he really wants a ceasefire. He wants to move forward now, and you heard him. I mean, he's dire serious with this.
Well, and there's a geopolitical impact with this deal with the European Union as well. Not only will it make us $750 billion richer in purchasing American energy, but there's an impact on Russia because it reduces or takes the dependency on Russia away from Russia and then puts the dependency on the United States. So there's an impact for Russia with the energy front. And I reached out to my friend E.J. Antoni over at the Economist at the Heritage Foundation to just, to contextualize the impact of this deal. And he said he was so impressed that he was able to get this done so quickly because the EU is one of the toughest nuts to crack because you're talking about many countries, not just one. And he said what this does is it overturns 80 years worth of international trade restrictions between the EU and the United States, which is going to help our exporters, obviously. But also just look at the way that it's being covered as well. You've got the French prime minister said that it's a dark day for Europe. It's an act of submission. And then you have our allies, like the Hungarian prime minister, Viktor Orban, who said that Trump ate the EU for breakfast. So to sum it up, America's back, baby. And it turns out all we really needed was a new president.
Oh, I love that. That sounds like it should have like a backbeat to it.
We could come up with something during the commercial break.
All right, we'll work on it. Emily.
Yeah, well, actually, Mark, I would love your input on this. And it's one of the legacy media. So we know the New York Times today talked about the president's New Deal and sort of hallmarking, well, this is coming off the stretch of one of his most productive trade negotiations, quoting a totally startled economics professor from Dartmouth. I thought the EU would retaliate against us much more. I guess not. And the question is, just a few months ago, they were predicting this doom and gloom complete fall. And they were sort of noting the investors' panic is reflected in the stock market. But the reality is it has rallied to a new high. So at what point will they ever catch on, do you think, and reflect the sentiments of Americans that are grateful for this, or the reality that this is great for the country?
The New York Times was founded in the 1860s, and it's been wrong about everything. Everything. It covered up the Holocaust. It sides with Hamas. It's been anti-Trump since day one. It's anti-Republican since day one. That's why it's losing readership. That's why nobody takes it seriously anymore. The New York Times is a disgrace. Now, who is it at the New York Times that actually understands economics? Nobody, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Rosanna.
I was going to say this trade deal obviously brings stability, and also maybe stability with Wall Street, too, because we all saw our retirement go up and down, and we were all, biting our fingernails. But, playing off what you said about the New York Times, I went to my New York Times app to see how they posted the trade deal. Oh. And it's really kind of down there.
Wait. It's not top news?
No, it's not top news.
They're like, don't look at it.
It's not top news. It's talks about Netanyahu and hunger in Gaza, and then it talks a little bit Russia, but then it goes into the trade deal, and they say basically the giant trade deal is not necessarily a good deal for Europe. So does that mean President Trump is a winner? They didn't want to say that. They did not say that.
Between the lines.
Yeah, Mark just said they don't know. They're just trying to write the headlines and hope that they hit something on the wall. Look, the president did bring up, and he said it's real starvation in Gaza. That was such an interesting point because he's really trying to he is playing chess while the rest of the world is playing checkers. I know that's so cliche, but it really does feel like that.
Can we hit Hamas now?
Yeah, you can hit them.
The Europeans lecturing the United States or Israel about Hamas is disgusting. They've done nothing, absolutely nothing to help with the hostages, to help fight Hamas, to help stop Iran, Hezbollah. They've sat on the sidelines. They've been shooting at Israel from day one. What they want Israel to do, America, is to surrender. That's what they want. Hamas is killing and starving its own people. It is a terrorist organization. That's what they do. That's what Stalin did. That's what Hitler did. That's what Mao did. Lives don't mean anything to these people. That's number one. Number two, to hear the British Prime Minister, who's given aid and comfort to Hamas, given aid and comfort to Iran, to hear this weasel go on the way he did with the president, I thought the president handled him perfectly. Of course the president's going to work with Netanyahu. He's trying to figure it out. But read between the lines. He says, we want these people fed, but we want to destroy Hamas.
Right. Well, and I asked a guest last hour, Ben Ferguson, show me the long list of Sunni and Shia countries that are willing to help the 2.7 million people in Gaza Strip. Where are their food drops? We don't see those either. Real quick thought, and we'll move on.
Well, you're 100% right. Did the Arab countries help? No. Did the European countries help? No. The UN is actually helping Hamas. The only people feeding the Palestinians there are the United States and the Israelis. Imagine that. Imagine that. The Israelis who were slaughtered, the Israelis who were attacked, are now told that they need to do a better job in feeding the people who Hamas are starving and killing. That's nuts.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.